Chalo. So, focusing on three important areas from the technical articles bit, I somehow expect that sustainability has become a very important part of SBR, of AAA, even in AFM for that matter. There are questions coming on sustainability. So, all the more reason, why I thought a separate discussion on this will only help us work better. Okay. So, I'll be sharing this sheet with you. Now, sustainability assurance is gaining a lot of traction because stakeholders demand more ESG related information, and companies are using sustainability KPIs to show green credentials. We'll discuss a concept called greenwashing, where you are trying to portray a better picture of the company by quoting or misquoting points relating to ESG. Okay. In a lot of geographies across the world, I think there is an increasing pressure on sustainability related assurance, which is why, see, right now, this auditing standard or a review standard basically has not been published. Right now, it is in the uh, exposure draft stage. So the assurance may be because there are multiple frameworks that have come up with respect to sustainability. There is the Global Reporting Initiative, there is integrated reporting, then Task Force on Climate Change related financial disclosures, IFRS S1, S2, and ESRS. Many entities report under several standards, and ISSA 5000 wala jo framework जो standard है, that is framework neutral, which means it is not applicable. It's not as if ISSA is applicable only for IFRS S1, S2. It is applicable for, मतलब it gives you on how to perform an assurance exercise over information that relates to sustainability. ठीक है. And they are saying it's profession agnostic in the sense non-accountants can also perform assurance if they follow ethical requirements and have a quality management system as robust as an audit firms. ठीक है. So engineers हो गया, MBAs हो गया, scientists हो गया, they can all, so it's not the domain only of chartered accountants. Now, the broad scope of sustainability related information could be CO, मतलब greenhouse gas emissions, water usage, biodiversity, labor, ethics, human rights, पता नहीं, all of that. Customer safety, tax strategy, बहुत कुछ हो सकता है. And the formats can be narrative, KPIs, graphs, or other diagrams. Now, applying ISSA 5000 from an examination perspective, assurance practitioner should be aiming at obtaining reasonable or limited assurance on sustainability information. He should be able to express a conclusion through the audit report, and he might have to perform some additional procedures also. They might ask you the difference between limited assurance versus reasonable assurance. And limited assurance is a negative form of assurance, reasonable assurance is positive assurance. When I talk of engagement acceptance, what are the points that the auditor should consider? You should not call him an auditor, we should call him a reviewer, because this is not an audit technically. Scope of work, reporting boundary, existence of suitable criteria, whether the entity has an appropriate materiality determination process, level of assurance required, and existence of adequate internal systems and controls. From an exam perspective, the audit, see, ye sare preconditions of an audit are there for other assignments also in similar proportion, right? Ki, what is the scope of work, to whom the reporting is going to happen, or how do you determine materiality? At the planning stage, what is it that the auditor should be looking at? Understand the entity's processes for preparing sustainability info. Ki, how are you collecting or collating the information to be put together in the sustainability report? What internal controls does the entity apply? Are there any internal controls on arriving at the sustainability related figures? And you are also expected to perform risk assessment, including fraud or greenwashing related risk. Like, whitewash is basically a process of somebody is a criminal और आपको उसका image positive banana hai, like that movie Sanju. Sanjay Dutt is a criminal, and then they are using this in order to basically give a changes image in front of the people. Similarly, greenwashing is sustainability or environment angle से किसी का whitewash करना is greenwashing. ठीक है. From an examination perspective, you will have to highlight difficulty of obtaining evidence from third party sources in the value chain. बिकॉज सी यू माइट नॉट बी एन एक्सपर्ट इन एवरीथिंग, ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशन का कैलकुलेशन कोई और करेगा, एंड योर जॉब विल बी टू बी एबल टू कॉमेंट ऑन दैट, which means you will have to collate information from all of these different sources before expressing an opinion. ठीक है. Then materiality, there are, I'm going to take up sustainability reporting का discussion also with you once again. ठीक है. So sustainability reporting में ना, materiality as we know it, we always consider materiality from a finance perspective, but when it comes to अपना audit or specifically audit of sustainability related information, there are two levels of materiality specifically, uh, to understand here. Whenever we are talking about materiality, there is impact materiality and then there is your financial materiality that you have always been looking at. Financial materiality to yaar, if this particular item affects you know it affects certain values in the financial statements, what is the threshold there, तो उसका बात हो सकता है उसमें. ठीक है. अब impact materiality जो है, impact materiality talks about what impact will it have on the role of the entity with respect to the business environment in which it operates. ठीक है. सो ये जो ड्यूअल मटीरियलिटी है, लेट्स गो एंड अंडरस्टैंड दिस डबल मटीरियलिटी विच इज अ क्लासिक फीचर ऑफ सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिपोर्टिंग. I will take you to this full sheet again. So two dimensions, impact materiality and financial materiality. Okay, now to determine the material sustainability matters, management needs to identify the entity's material impacts, risks, and opportunities and exclude the ones that are not material. Material impact means sustainability related impacts that a company exerts on its environment. आप जहाँ पे ऑपरेट कर रहे हो, आप कितना पोल्यूशन कर रहे हो, हाउ पॉजिटिवली आर यू कंट्रीब्यूटिंग टू द well-being of the environment around you, and then you will also have to comment on the sustainability related financial risks and opportunities that arise. Financial materiality तो AAA में हम हमेशा डिस्कस करते ही हैं, we always talk about it, but this is impact materiality as in how much, say for example, you have, like you have undertaken tree plantation drive in your area and you are saying कि यार after I have done tree plantation on which I spent 30,000 rupees, it will generate इतना oxygen and it will curb the spread of greenhouse gases to this extent. Now इसका financial value नहीं है necessarily, but it has an impact on the environment. Now as an auditor, don't you think if you have been asked to comment on the sustainability information, तो आपको इस बात पे भी comment करना पड़ेगा कि ये लिख रहा है कि आई एम रिड्यूसिंग पोल्यूशन बाय 30 kgs फॉर एग्जाम्पल. आई नो पोल्यूशन कैनॉट बी मेजर्ड इन kgs, but just to illustrate, if he is saying that my activity has reduced pollution by so and so, how am I verifying that information before it goes out to the world at large? ठीक है. Then how do you gather evidence? So a lot of this is forward looking information, because I've, after a tree plantation, it will go down by so and so pollution level. That is forward looking. There will be estimates which could be uncertain, or qualitative disclosures which are subjective. That's in the sense, because man, my business planted 30,000 trees and it reduced pollution by so and so. इसको आप numbers में define करना might be difficult. Plus, planting one tree or one tree of this age of this whatever is reducing the pollution by so and so, ये बताना थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है. या फिर you are saying that we are making an active effort in order to reduce the uh, in order to reduce gender discrimination. Up, this is something which is a which cannot be expressed like purchase price of this machinery is 30,000. इस form में उसको express नहीं कर सकते. So evidence gathering might become difficult. You will have to evaluate assumptions. You will have to review methodology of metrics, use experts, inspect evidence from across the value chain, and apply significant judgment when evidence is limited. Okay. Assurance report must clearly state whether it is limited or reasonable assurance. Limited assurance procedures are less, and you provide a negative or slightly lower level of assurance. Positive assurance तो हमने सारे audit assignments में देखा है. Greenwashing is a term which is specific to sustainability reporting. Deliberate or unintentional misleading sustainability reporting. Manipulation is similar to creative accounting in the sense of balance sheet. There you are changing figures in the balance sheet in order to present a better financial picture. Here you are playing with sustainability related indicators to present a better picture. Okay, weak or evolving systems generate errors, and there is a possibility that sustainability reporting is fairly new in the world. And if it is fairly new in the world, then naturally the systems like Tally is an evolved system for financial reporting. This might not be an evolved system, so errors ho sakta hai. And if wrong assurance is given, then naturally there is a reputation risk. So here you should learn how to apply professional skepticism by questioning all the data given by the client, not giving an assurance report unless you have clarified all the questions in your mind, obtain robust evidence, and challenge management assumptions. You will have to document skepticism and judgments thoroughly. Ethical threats in your exam, which can be a favorite thing for examiners, is evaluating the competence. Firms might lack expertise for sustainability, danger of accepting work solely for commercial gain, self interest threat, self review threat. If the same firm audits the financial statements and assures sustainability information, there is a chance of getting your own work reviewed by yourself. Then there could be pressure or advocacy threat, and you might have to reject certain engagements, so to say, where you might not be able to get sufficient appropriate level of audit evidence for multiple failings on your end. In exams, they might ask you to identify reporting risks, where you could talk about greenwashing, the use of estimates, the very fact that information is forward looking, which makes it difficult to evaluate as compared to other information which is backward looking, and KPIs are subjective in nature, which makes the evaluation difficult. You might be asked to identify assurance risk. You might have to speak about double materiality where relevant. Ethical threats तो आ ही सकते हैं, and you might be asked to prepare procedures linked to the narratives or KPIs that are given to you. ठीक है? So this is where assurance related points might be tested in the paper, and that ISSA 5000, which is still in the exposure draft stage, will come to your rescue. ठीक है? I think you should read it once. एक बार start करो from the top. Tell me when you want me to scroll.
Can you scroll? Done. Done, sir. Any school. Done. Done.
ठीक है।
Done.
अच्छा, एक डाउट पूछना है, आप लोगों को पूछूंगा मैं, मुझे डाउट है आज एक किसी चीज में।
Done.
ओके, नाउ why are they producing more and more reports on sustainability? First one is that regulations make it mandatory, like climate change related disclosures in the European Union, others in UK. Then there are demands from stakeholders. Woke janta hai na, Gen Z more in touch with their feelings and the environment. They demand this. Then integrated reporting, which by the way has been removed from SBR, but yes, integrated reporting is the way in which the world is moving right now. ठीक है। Measurement and reporting issues. Measuring sustainability information is difficult because no single global reporting standard, fast changing requirements, and highly subjective measures which might bring in a bias. Now, your KPIs or comment points could be greenhouse gas emissions, water usage, resource consumption, supply chain metrics, and whatnot. In the exam, you might be asked, ki, yaar, why do you think is the risk of misstatement high? And one of the big reasons for that to happen is because these criteria are not so clearly defined. Because reporting criteria is not defined, commenting on that becomes a little difficult. Okay. Now, what else? Planning and assurance engagement. uh, it could be commenting on other information, ISA 720, or it could be a separate assurance engagement altogether. When you are planning, you should know what is the reporting criteria used. IFRS S1 S2 hai, TCFD hai. What is the reporting criteria? Identify areas where there could be a higher management bias. Identify what are the relevant applicable auditing standards. ठीक है। ISA 725, which is for material inconsistencies with the financial information. Then ISA 540, which talks about estimates and biases. ISA 250 on legal and regulatory breaches. ISA 315 on specialist risk, internal control, third party data. And the one on misstatements and omissions, which is ISA 450. Now, you should know what kind of assurance does the assignment demand. Is it reasonable assurance where the evidence gathering process will have to be more intense and deeper testing is required, or are you required to provide limited assurance where fewer procedures and lower level of assurance is required? What are some of the challenges for assurance providers here? You might have to make use of third party data, which in itself is a problem. Then you could be, looking at, say, for example, subjective KPIs which are not in anyone's control. You could be looking at high risk of greenwashing, so there will be a strong need for professional skepticism. Questions might ask you to link sustainability claims to financial evidence, fines, cost, provisions. You might have to do analytical procedures, like waste processing cost and its impact on the financial statements, review of legal correspondence with, in case, cases have been filed against you, or you have been asked by the environmental board to make payment of certain penalties, तो वो वाला part हो सकता है. Then need for experts, because you might not know how each of these aspects work, and you might need the report coming from an expert to analyze the data better. And assurance report should state the level of assurance, refer to suitable criteria, reporting standards, and highlight information and scope clearly. Okay. You might be asked to distinguish, you should have the ability to distinguish between ISA 720, which is review of other information inconsistent with the financial statements, and ISSA 3000, which is basically about review of sustainability related information. ISA 720, if you remember, we had done this when we were doing the chapter on review and reporting. उस टाइम हमने क्या बोला था? While the auditor is reviewing other information, the sole purpose of doing that is to find out any inconsistency between other information and financials. And if there is an issue, then highlight that. ISAE 3000 is a separate standard on review of sustainability related information. And uh, when you are looking at this particular audit standard, sorry, review standard or assurance engagement standard, let's be very, very specific. You are also trying to measure, you're also trying to comment on measurement challenges, subjectivity, weak internal controls, and third party data and legal risk. तो ये कितने पेज है? 7 पेज है. फॉन्ट साइज बड़ा है. तो डोंट गेट बॉग डाउन कि यार देयर इज टू मच इंफॉर्मेशन टू प्रोसेस. इट्स, you go through this, you learn it where required. I don't think there is a lot of need to learn, but standard references वगैरह अगर आप याद कर लेंगे, और अगर पेपर में इस पे कोई क्वेश्चन आया, तो you should be able to tackle that question. People who are watching the recordings of the last batch, or people who are watching the recordings of the current batch, इस पे एक क्वेश्चन है जो मैंने सॉल्व करके रिकॉर्डिंग दिया है. हैव यू गॉन थ्रू दैट क्वेश्चन?
Yes.
मैंने आपको वॉच लिस्ट में देखने को बोला था. सम पीपल वर सेइंग कि इसके नोट्स दे दो. आई थॉट इस पे सेशन कर लेते हैं. बेसिक बेसिक चीजें लर्न करनी है, नथिंग टू मच. एंड आई बिलीव लास्ट टू लास्ट अटेम्प्ट में इस पे क्वेश्चन आया था, नहीं उससे भी पहले एक क्वेश्चन आया था. तो चांस है आने का. तो इतना कुछ कर लिया है तो ये भी कर लेना. ठीक है. ओके.